The end to a free decade of Netflix. Between 8 and 10 years ago, I received an email welcoming me to Netflix. That was a bit concerning since I hadn't signed up, so I contacted the company. They told me someone must have accidentally used my email when they created an account. Our last names were the same and our first initial. I said, "Oh, no problem. You must have additional contact information for them besides my email. Could you please remove my email from the account and let them know so they can fix?" Well, immediately that was a big problem for Netflix, and well, no, they couldn't remove the email because it was the only one they had for the account, and how did they even know that it was mine? I said, "Give me your email address and start talking. I will email you the words as they come out of your mouth." That wasn't good enough for proof somehow. More likely I was in the other person's Gmail account asking to not have Netflix. What they finally ended up doing was changing the account password so that when the customer went to log back in, they wouldn't be able to and would need to do a password reset by calling Netflix, and then they would confirm the email address. I kept getting Netflix emails, so that didn't work. I called again, same again. Didn't work. I changed the password several times myself because I could use the forgot password function and get an email to reset it. That didn't work. I don't know how they kept getting the new password without updating an email address, and I didn't really care at this point. For the last 8 to 10 years, I have had Netflix on everything I own. I have signed in on hotel televisions, used it on my phone, my Xboxes. My kid uses it. I only ever signed in under family and told him to do the same. The entire history in family is us. The other logins, Fred, Softy, and Lila, accumulated history. I would occasionally look because, curious. Never did a single new show appear in the family watch history that wasn't because of me. Well, I woke up this morning to an email from Netflix telling me that this email address was no longer associated with that account and if I had any questions, etc. Thank you, Softy. It has been an amazing run, and I am not sure why you gave me free Netflix for the last decade, but I think you are amazing. TLDR, I asked Netflix to remove my email address from an account that was not mine that I did not pay for. They would not because they needed to have an email associated with an account. It stayed that way for 10 years and I used the account for free. Now to the comments. I've got this same problem with my email tied to some little old lady's home shopping network account. She's recently taken up watercolors. I'm glad she's got a hobby. There's an Australian with my name, and my Gmail is just my name. I think his might have a period between forename and surname. Anyway, I get a ton of email meant for him. Things I know: he breeds sheep and shows them. He was selling his caravan on eBay. I used to be able to log into his eBay. He is Christian and reviews Christian books. He can fly light aircraft. He is on some sort of local council thing for the area he lives in. There's more, I forget. Oh, his friends send e-cards, which always seemed ridiculous to me. OP replied. There are a few people with my very same name, and I can say the tiny bit that I see in Google tells me that we are not at all alike, but we are all very interesting individuals, lol. There's a staff sergeant out there with my same last name and first initial. I'm assuming his personal email is close to mine because his captain has been emailing me presentations to edit for 2 years. At first, I told him wrong guy, but they kept coming. So, I started editing. Some of them were really bad, so I redid them and provided copious notes. Since I kept getting them, I'm assuming he uses them. One day soon either the staff sergeant or the captain is going to leave that duty station and this part of my life will end. He's learning though. What used to take me a couple hours can be done in 10 minutes now. Maybe the staff sergeant has left and the captain knows you are a stranger but keeps sending them to you because you always edit them. Get the job done by any means necessary. Presumably they had a device that was logged in and never once lost access and therefore never needed the password. Kind of impressive. OP replied. Among the early emails I received from Netflix was one saying that because I used some cable/phone company, I was receiving free Netflix. Maybe they logged in through that? That seems like it was probably the case. They used some other type of authentication to use Netflix and just gave your email address to them. Similar to how you can use Facebook to log into other sites. Netflix probably used your email as username so you and them have the same username. That email can only be used for one account. But you used your password to log in and they used an external method of authentication. So, they didn't even need the password. Sounds like you did everything you could to correct the mistake and neither the account holder nor Netflix did anything to fix it. As far as I'm concerned, you were in the clear to use their Netflix. Good for you. Money shows up at your doorstep. You do your due diligence. Go to the cops and they let you keep the money. Duck going to the cops with found money. Civil forfeiture is an absolute joke. Would have been funny to change all of the icons to change your ducking email. Lol, I remember reading about someone's ex having a profile called settings. I heard the same except they were named new user. I've had a pen name, a pretty generic unisex name, for close to 2 decades. I have an email account associated with this name, and I get emails from multiple countries intended for people who actually have this name. Following their lives has been very interesting. When possible, I respond to the sender and tell them about the mix-up. I managed to connect the harpist to the bride after he mistakenly emailed me with his availability for her wedding. One person has fallen on hard times in the last few years and is behind on the water bill. And they get emails from payday loan businesses, while another gets emails about his Porsche. I see all of their online orders, and I just found out that another is buying a new mattress. There's no benefit to me so far, no free Netflix or the like. I suppose if I had a criminal mind, I could steal someone's identity. I can't believe the info that is shared in emails. But I don't. So, I'll just keep on following their lives from afar, at least until they learn to give out their proper email addresses. Haha, I have something similar happen to someone with the same first/last name at Gmail. My name is a combination of an Anglo and Hispanic names, so not typical, but not so rare to think there aren't more out there. So, for the past 20+ years, me and this guy have exchanged a handful of short emails. The first was, I bet this email isn't even monitored or something. And I'd always laugh at his snarky reply. At this point, the guy knows some fun details about my life. Once a friend was emailing me some personal finance advice, which ended "get your shit together." He forwards it on and says your friend's advice is right, hope you get your shit together. Another time recently my sister-in-law was emailing a panicky message about using Microsoft Teams and Word and shit like that. But sends it to him instead of me. She called me dying laughing saying the guy was super helpful and actually gave her some good advice. The guy is a good sport about it at least. Duck. This happened to my partner, but in reverse. Several years ago, his job changed from paper to digital pay stubs. He spent 6 months fighting with them, playing phone and notation tag trying to get the issue fixed. His email was firstlast89@gmail. But they entered it without the number. And so, his email to activate the account to view his pay stubs and W-2 were opened and activated by another person, presumably with the same name as him, since that was their email handle. So, someone else with his same name now has his address, SSN, place of employment, pay stubs, and so much more info. His job continually sent this email to the wrong address until he made up an entirely new, stupid email that wasn't his name. But the secretary they put in charge of this sort of thing was a 70-year-old half-blind chicken-pecking typer. We had a lot of clerical errors while she was in charge of things. I still worry that his info was stolen and taken advantage of and that we'll find out about it in the worst way someday.